Albo's been accused of moving to the left and to the right. I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, probably.
Left and to the right again. Still, I'm not here to bag the Labor Party. Quite the opposite, in fact. There is a little-known codicil in the ABC Charter which gives us unlimited power to prop up the Australian Labor Party during times of peak irrelevancy. And
Never mind that.
Oh, yes, a question from up the back there.
You know how the world's being run by a cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles? Well, what I want to know is why don't they do something about all those different bins I have to put out nowadays?
I don't know if the world is run by the cabal you describe.
Well, that was my takeaway from Monday night's Four Corners.
You shouldn't believe everything you misinterpret on television. You should do your own research about these things on the dark web.
I haven't got time to do that. I've got to pull all my bins out. Plus, I only use the internet to watch Four Corners on iView because the television talks to me and tells me to do things.
Well, is he right? Does the television talk to you and tell you to do things? Send your answers to do you do things because the TV tells you to, care of the ABC, etc., etc. And you could win a Fran Kelly jelly flan. Why not double your delight in the mornings by tucking into a baked custard dessert moulded into the very face of the very RN breakfast presenter you're listening to? That's just kind of weird. Well, coming up, Tosh Greenslade in a wig and glasses does basically a promo for that Australia Talks thing.
That's exactly right, Shaun. We asked tens of thousands of Australians, are you a current federal Liberal MP? 0.1% said yes. Of that 0.1%, we asked, do you have any strong moral or ethical objections to any of the government's current policies? 53% said yes. Of those who replied yes, we then asked, have you expressed your concerns to your party's leadership? 85% said, fuck off, and I can't be seen talking to you, while the remaining 15% said they were late for a prayer meeting. Shaun.
Thank you, Tosh. Tosh Greenslade there in a wig and glasses, making a satirical observation about the divide between the centre-right and hard-right in the Liberal Party room, with a sting in the tail in the end there about being in the PM's good books if you share the same religious belief. Thanks, Tosh. Now, COVID, of course, was something everyone at the G7 was very concerned about. Catching it, I expect, being in England. And like you, my heart swelled with fluid when I heard the PM promised 20 million doses to Pacific nations as part of the global plan to deal with the pandemic. And if that rollout goes anything like ours, most of the Pacific nations will be underwater by the time we turn up to deny we ever promised them anything in the first place. Speaking of our rollout, one question that came up during Victoria's recent outbreak was why the government withdrew support for single-site workforce arrangements and allowed workers to go back to work across multiple facilities, but then later brought it back as soon as there was a hotspot triggered by health authorities. Now, this is Greg Hunt's responsibility, but he didn't come up with this scheme himself. That was you, wasn't it? Level 0 Public Service seconded to the Health Department and Tricia as an RDO, Marinara Trench.
Yes, Shaun, that was one of mine. The policy is based on a similar one I developed in my former life, running an archery range. To cut costs on office space, we put our desks out in the empty space between the archers and the target.
Well, that sounds dangerous.
Well, no, Shaun, you see, for most of the time there was no arrows being shot at the target, so it was perfectly safe.
Though not in the strict meaning of perfectly.
Well, if during the course of the day I began to notice arrows flying by and or into people, I would declare the area an arrow hotspot, and we would immediately drag our desks away and then drag them back again when things had calmed down.
As a precaution, did you at least consider getting medieval helmets for your staff?
We did, yes, but helmets didn't actually prevent arrows from ricocheting off the heads of staff and back at our customers.
So you got helmets for the customers as well?
Well, due to supply chain difficulties, we could only manage to get some customers half a helmet. But we found that if and when the customers could hear an arrow approaching, they quickly put it on. That would usually be enough to limit hospitalisations to an acceptable level.
Yeah, the point of preventative measures, though, is to have them in place at all times, just in case. It's not something you activate once the damage has been done. I'm surprised no one died at your facility.
Well, we had a spot of luck. An aged care worker with COVID visited and we had to shut the whole place down.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject